good evening, or perhaps, good night. You are here, to rest. To let your mind drift, while we travel back in time. Tonight, we will slowly, calmly, explore the American West, as it truly was, in the 1800s. No rushing. No drama. Just quiet images, of long journeys, and endless landscapes. So, lie down, get comfortable, and allow history to become a soft lullaby. The vast land. The West was enormous. Unbroken plains, rolling hills, deserts that stretched far beyond the horizon. Imagine standing on the prairie, and turning slowly, in a circle. Every direction, you would see sky. Blue in the day, orange at sunset, and deep black at night, filled with more stars than you could ever count. The land seemed empty, but it was alive. Buffalo herds moved slowly, chewing grass, their heavy steps shaking the earth. Birds circled overhead, searching for food. Coyotes called to one another, across the open space. For settlers, this land felt both welcoming and endless. But also, lonely. The wagon journey begins. Most families traveled west, in covered wagons. The wagons were not romantic, they were practical. Wooden wheels, iron rims, a canvas stretched across the top. Inside were barrels of flour, sacks of beans, a few pots and pans, and maybe a Bible, or a family photograph. Oxen pulled the wagons slowly. Step by step, mile after mile. The journey could take weeks, even months. Children sometimes walked beside the wagons, chasing each other, or carrying small bundles of sticks. The elderly rode inside, bouncing uncomfortably, as the wheels turned over rocks and ruts. Every morning, the journey began again. Every evening, the wagons circled together, to form a safe camp. Daily life on the trail. Travelers woke at sunrise. The first sound was the crackle of a small fire. Coffee boiled in a tin pot, the smell drifting quietly through camp. Children yawned and rubbed their eyes. Men tightened the harnesses on the oxen. Women packed food for the day. Breakfast was simple. A biscuit, a piece of dried meat, maybe a spoonful of beans left over from last night. Then the long day began. The wagons creaked, the oxen groaned, and the travelers walked, step after slow step. Sometimes the wind blew dust in their faces. Sometimes the rain turned the ground into mud. And sometimes, the sun shone bright, and the air was calm. It was not exciting. It was slow, repetitive, almost meditative. Rest at night. At night, the wagons stopped. Fires were lit again. Pots of beans simmered slowly, filling the air with a smoky smell. If a family was lucky, they might cook cornbread, or fry bacon, over the fire. As darkness spread, the camp grew quiet. Children whispered until sleep took them. Adults talked softly, about tomorrow's miles, or about the land they hoped to reach. The stars were dazzling. With no city lights, the sky seemed infinite. Travelers sometimes just lay back, staring upward, until their eyes closed. Hardships along the way. The journey was not easy. Wagons broke down. Wheels cracked. Axles splintered. Water was not always nearby. Families rationed what they had. Sometimes they drank from streams, sometimes from shallow wells, dug by hand. Illness was common. A cough could spread quickly. Cholera, dysentery, fever. There were no hospitals on the prairie. Yet the travelers kept moving. One step, then another, day after day. A quiet landscape. Imagine now, that you are one of them. You sit on a wooden wagon seat. The sun is setting. The wheels creak. The oxen's heads bob slowly as they walk. Ahead is only more land. Behind is the same. The rhythm is steady. The sound of hooves. The squeak of wood. The low murmur of voices. It does not change much, And in that sameness, there is calm. Encounters along the way. Sometimes, a wagon train would pass another. Strangers greeted one another quietly. News was shared, about a river crossing ahead, or a broken bridge. Other times, the travelers met native tribes. Trade was possible. Food, furs, or tools exchanged hands. Not always conflict, sometimes cooperation. But even those encounters were brief. And the journey continued. The stillness of the night. Now imagine again, the camp at night. The fires are small embers. The cattle are lying down. The children are asleep. Only the sound of the wind remains. And the sky above, so wide, so quiet, it makes you feel both small and safe. In the stillness, people dreamed of the land they would one day reach. A farm, a house, a fresh start. But for tonight, only rest mattered. Gentle pause. And now, let your own eyes close, just as theirs did, under the wide prairie sky. The land is endless, but tonight, your journey pauses. The wagon rests. The fire fades. And sleep begins. The wagons rolled on. But not everyone in the West traveled with families. Some lived a different kind of life. The life of the cowboy. Not the dramatic hero, shown in movies. Not the gunslinger, from legends. But a worker. A man on horseback, herding cattle, across open land. Who were the cowboys? Most cowboys were young men. Some were white settlers. Many were Mexican vaqueros, whose traditions shaped the cowboy style. Some were freed African Americans, seeking work and independence. Together, they created the culture of the open range. Their days were long. Their pay was low. But they were needed to guide thousands of cattle, from ranches to markets, hundreds of miles away. The daily routine. A cowboy's day began before the sun rose. The air was cold. The sky was dark, but faintly blue at the edges. He woke up, rolled from his blanket, and stirred the ashes of the fire. Coffee was brewed, thick and bitter. Breakfast was often beans, or leftover bread. By the time the sun lifted above the horizon, he was already on horseback. His work had begun. The herd. Cattle drives could include thousands of animals. Slowly moving, grazing as they walked. The cowboy's job was to keep them together. Not too spread out. Not too close. It required patience. Hours of steady riding, circling the herd, guiding with whistles, or with quiet shouts. Sometimes, a calf would wander. Sometimes, a bull would grow restless. The cowboy would ride out, turn them back, calm the movement. Over and over, the same motions. Hour after hour. Day after day. Clothing and tools. The cowboy's clothing was not about style. It was about survival. The wide-brimmed hat, for sun and rain. The bandana, pulled over the face, to keep out dust. The boots, with high heels, to stay steady in the stirrups. The spurs, to signal the horse. His saddle was his most valued possession. Worn leather, shaped to fit his body. The rope, or lariat, hung from his side, ready for use. The horse. A cowboy's horse was more than transport. It was a partner. Each cowboy often had one horse he trusted most. The horse could sense the cattle's movement. It could turn quickly, sprint suddenly, or stop on a dime. At night, the cowboy brushed the horse, checked its hooves, and offered water. Without the horse, his work was impossible. Meals on the trail. Food was plain. Beans. Biscuits. Salted pork. Coffee, always coffee. The cook wagon carried supplies. At the end of the day, cowboys gathered, their voices low, eating slowly, staring at the fire. It was not a feast. It was survival. Nights on the prairie. After the meal, came the long night. Cowboys took turns, riding watch around the herd. Making sure the cattle stayed calm. Singing soft songs, to soothe them. The sky stretched wide, filled with stars. The air was cool. The sounds were few, only hooves shifting, or a distant coyote call. Sleep was brief. Blankets on the ground. The earth was hard, but exhaustion made rest easy. Dangers on the drive. The greatest danger was not always outlaws. It was stampedes. If the herd grew frightened, by thunder, or by sudden noise, the cattle could run wild. Thousands of hooves, pounding the earth, unstoppable. Cowboys rode hard, risking their lives, to turn the herd. Circling, shouting, guiding, until the animals slowed. There were injuries. There were deaths. But still, the work continued. The cowboy's loneliness. The cowboy's life was quiet. He spent weeks, even months, on the trail. Few towns. Few comforts. Letters from home were rare. Most days passed in silence, except for the low calls to cattle, or the creak of the saddle. Some cowboys sang to themselves. Low tunes, passed down from Mexico, or from the South. Songs about rivers, horses, and distant sweethearts. Myths versus reality. Later stories turned cowboys into legends. Sharp shooters. Gunfighters. Heroes of the frontier. But the truth was slower. The real cowboy was a worker. Tired, dusty, often poor.